Katherine, welcome to the show.
Hello, thank you for having me.
And do you go by Kat? I didn't ask you before.
It depends. I don't really care each, but I feel like Catherine's a lot of syllables to burden people with, so Kat's just more efficient.
Yeah, we'll get to Kat probably during the course of this episode because I know we have a lot to talk about. And I just chatted with you briefly before we hit record, and I'm so excited for our listeners to hear more about your story and your business. It's just so cool. But let's just dive in with, our listeners just heard a brief intro about you, but could you just kind of introduce yourself and what your business does, and then we'll get into all of my other questions.
Sure. Yeah. So I'm Katherine Studley. I am the CEO and founder of both the Only Consultant and Prisma Tax Group. So we're a tax consulting company that specializes in the spicy industry. And if you don't know what that is OnlyFans, exotic dancers, and sugar babies. That's what we specialize in. But really, we're a judgment-free firm for anyone that's looking for a non-traditional tax experience. Basically, we're revamping the tax world.
I love it. What got you into that industry? And I know you get asked this question a lot probably, but like why that industry and how are you passionate about it?
Yes. Great question. It's a good question. How did I get here? So as we were talking about before, I am an accountant by trade. I'm from Buffalo, New York. I have a 4-year degree in accounting from Niagara University. I graduated, and like every other accounting student, I started as a tax intern at CPA firms. That's what you do. And then I worked for a couple of years in CPA firms in the tax department and was really having a very bad time and was really just rethinking everything that I had just went to school for. And so I was like, okay, I'm never doing taxes again like that. I did not enjoy that. So the guy I was dating at the time got a job in Washington, D.C. with the government. So I followed him down. And then I was working as a barista. Long story short, I got recruited by the intelligence community. I did not know. I thought I was working for a tech company and I was keeping the books for top secret projects. So I did that for a year. And then it was in the summer of 2020 when I was spending a lot of time on social media like everybody else. And I came across this new platform called OnlyFans. I thought, oh, this is interesting. What's going on here? So I called my friend in Buffalo who had an account. I was like, yo, what's up with this? She's like, oh my God, we're making 10 grand a month. We're making so much money. Said, well, everything you do is a write-off. I just said in passing, because like, once you see a tax return, you can't unsee it once you know how it works, even if you don't like it. And she had no idea. I thought, oh, this is interesting. Okay. So I wrote an ebook initially for OnlyFans creators. And I was advertising on social media and clients said, no, we want you to actually do our taxes. I thought, well, okay, that's interesting. But like, I'm never doing taxes again. So I called the CPA firms that I worked at in Buffalo. I said, boys, I got a deal for you. So I was essentially working as a consultant, finding the clients on social media and then white labeling the work from the other CPA firms that I knew. I didn't realize that OnlyFans was considered sex work. I really had no exposure to sex work. I didn't really know what I had got myself into. And I started advertising on, TikTok saying judgment-free tax preparation for the spicy industry. And then exotic dancers found me. And then sugar babies found me. And then pretty much everyone under the sex work umbrella I work with. I'm working with dominatrix, girls in anime, cosplay, suicide girls, every niche. We're doing their taxes, judgment-free. Everyone has to file their taxes.
Exactly. Everybody has taxes to file. So, leave nobody out of it. And also, what a power of really finding a niche and like going for it. But like, not just finding a niche that, how do I put this? Like not going after like, oh, that's where the money is, but also having a mission to serve the underserved as well, which I think that's really what makes it powerful is that not many people are choosing that industry, even though there's a ton of opportunity there.
Oh my God. There is unlimited opportunity. It is like the most underserved market, which I didn't realize. But also, not to get on a soapbox here, but it's a little bit of a women's issue, if you ask me, because it's mostly females that are working in this industry and who never learns how taxes work. Women. Yep. So that's why I'm very passionate about this. I quit my full-time job on the spot. I had no money. I just worked as a barista to get stuff to ground, took my calls for free for a year to understand how the industry works. So I'm very passionate about just like making accurate tax information accessible and not gatekept. I'll make you a client later. That's phase 2. Phase 1 is like, here's how this works, just for the sake of you knowing how it works.
Yeah. Just for the empowerment of here's the knowledge you need in order to understand the concepts of how this is going to work. And then the details will come later. But before we hit record, I have to bring this up because like I asked you about questions you normally get asked. And I said, hey, what are things that like you're tired of answering or things you never get asked about? And you mentioned this, and this was insane that you get asked what question all the time?
Are your clients sophisticated enough to understand taxes?
And I'm going to guess that's not a woman asking you.
Oh, please. You know exactly. Yeah. Like men, I'll just say it. It's already over for me, Shannon. I'll say it. Men can't comprehend that strippers may understand how taxes work and want to pay taxes. And like, you know, my clients have multiple jobs. They're working 9 to 5. They have degrees. They're doing all these things. But like society and like the general vanilla world just like cannot even wrap their head around the fact that a sex worker would be smart enough to do bookkeeping and taxes and operate a small business, which I think is just horribly insulting on multiple levels. And that's one question I really hate.
Yeah. And I number one, I can sense your passion. Number two, I agree with you. I think that nobody is exempt from what is it? My mentor Mel says financial freedom is a birthright for everyone.
Amen. Agreed.
Yeah. And all it is who has access to the tools to make it happen. And when you're limited in those tools or the access to those things, it's like, it's almost our duty and responsibility as people who have them to share them.
I cannot agree more. It's literally a basic human right. When a dancer comes to me who has not filed her tax returns in 4 years because her last CPA sexually harassed her and H&R Block scoffed at her, and now she can't get a mortgage or a credit card because she hasn't filed taxes because no one will help her. And these are I have hundreds of those situations. It's just, after you hear a bunch, it's just like, oh my God.
And you know what, too? It's not even just the spicy industries, but I think this is true of a lot of business owners that like, they're not here to help the little guys. They're not here to help the new business owners, the new startups. And then you add in the industry stigma or the judgment that's associated with them, and they're at an even more big disadvantage. Like it's just it's not working in their favor. So I'm so happy that people like you exist to educate and to empower them with more information on just the basics of how we're expected to do taxes, because our education system has basically failed us in that regard in actually providing that education, even though it's something that we all have to deal with it every single day.
Yeah, I cannot agree more. Exactly. And I even get a lot of clients. So like my initial niche, and still most of my clients fall under the spicy umbrella, but I also have hairstylists, insurance brokers, realtors, other small business owners, you know, people with just W-2s. They say, okay, I know that if you don't judge creators and dancers, you won't judge me. And can you just please explain taxes to me? Because I just don't know what's going on. Yeah.
And we call this the judgment and jargon free zone all the time. That's the header of the podcast. So we say, if it catch me doing jargon, like zap me, but like, it's like try to be judgment and jargon free. Every question is welcome. Every listener is welcome to consume information and to make themselves better through education. No questions asked. There's nothing else we need to know. I absolutely love that. So what are some of the unique challenges other than the inherent stigmas and the judgment associated with it? What are some of the financial challenges and tax challenges that your clients face in those industries that make them unique as an industry?
Sure. So I want to first talk about the differences in my client list. So I refer to creators. That's OnlyFans, creators, and beyond, though. There's several other platforms that creators are on. Fansly, Chatterbait, Sex Panther, there's a million of them. So they are getting paid on a 1099 capacity. So that's that. Dancers are obviously mostly getting paid in cash. So they're not getting a 1099. So their problem is even one step above the creators because there's no trace of their money. They have to track everything. So if they never tracked anything, if you're earning and spending your income in cash, it's very hard to go back and file those tax returns. And then I have sugar babies who are essentially professional companions, and they're earning a lot of income through Zelle and cash, or they're potentially getting 1099 from their sugar daddy. So just there, every client is not, equal just in how everything is set up. So, for dancers, it's a big issue. They're not getting a 1099. For OnlyFans creators, sometimes it's an issue that they're getting a 1099 because they're not filing. They have 3 years of $100,000 1099s laying around that they don't know what to do with. And now the penalties and interest are piling up for that. And people just avoid it, and you can't.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. Like we talked about before, a lot of clients get sexually harassed by their accountants, or people just don't really have any understanding of the industry at all, whether that be dancing, creating, or sugaring. Like they go to H&R Block and they're getting so much misinformation, taking write-offs they shouldn't, missing write-offs. So just from like a due diligence perspective, I feel like it's very hard for them to find professionals to work with. Also see a lot of clients being exploited, unfortunately. Like they'll be, someone's boyfriend will be doing everyone's taxes at the club and he's taking a percentage of all the single moms' refunds and he's not even doing them right.
Mm.
So just there's a lot going on. Yeah, I feel like the moral of the story is that there's no IRS guidance on this yet too. Like there's no creator guidance. Like we can only go by the rules that exist. That's something else too, is that we're trying, you really have to understand everyone's niche. If you're a dominatrix, your write-offs are very different than if you're someone who's working in feedism, which is girls that are consuming food on camera and stuffing themselves. There's nuances to that I think they're missing a lot of tax benefits for because no professionals really take the time to understand, really care to help them. And they're just kind of like left out.
Yeah. And I mean, look at it this way too. You know this, Katherine, the IRS is still on fax machines, for crying out loud. They barely understand online creators or digital businesses that are doing pretty typical services. They're already behind the times on that, let alone anything involving TikTok or OnlyFans or anything like that. Like they are so behind the times. It's almost scary because there's no NAICS code for this. There's no like,
right.
There's no acknowledgement of the industry. So then they're not really going to be able to use any resources. I mean, I would love that when the day comes that we see an IRS publication. Like I will love it if they will be specific enough to address these different types of industries because they're very real. People are earning money this way, and if they want to get paid, IRS issue the guidance.
They're going to have to. They're
going to have to
put them to a corner because there's so many people that are monetizing social media and beyond, spicy or not. They're literally going to have to change.
They will, and educate people on it too because it's key. I was actually part of an IRS panel discussion about something like this, about 1099K. And about how there's a misunderstanding of the 1099 reporting requirements or when they receive them, what happens, which by the way, guys, jump back to January. We did a 5-day series on that. But like when we think about it, it's the lack of education. And it was actually alarming, Katherine, that I was sitting around a table with IRS, it's like the customer service people with the clipboards. It's not like the agents, right? So they're coming around asking for like the focus group feedback. And we're like, nobody knows what the hell they're doing and it's not their fault. And they were like, well, what can we do? Issue education? We have publications. I'm like, with all due respect, no one's reading them. No one is like looking on your search engine on the IRS website. I go, if you're not on YouTube with freaking animation and puppets, it's not going to work. Like if you're not on YouTube or where they are at, you guys need to proactively issue good social media content to counteract all the other stuff that's on there. Like, where are you guys right now to deliver good education? You're relying on all of us to do it. And some of us are passionate enough to do it, but there's some responsibility, I think, for the IRS to come out with some type of specific guidance.
I totally agree. And there is so much misinformation now on social media because there is no concrete guidance. We're all doing our best to put together, former court cases to figure out what's going on. Then when you open up TikTok, they say you need an LLC to take every write-off. And that's what people think. And now people have all these LLCs and they have S Corp set up because they didn't know they could take a write-off without it. Because there's it's not clear.
What are some of the other things that your clients, well, let's just say like the challenges they have that you overcome, right? So they come to you with these types of situations, especially for those listening who may be able to relate to those things. Can you just kind of outline, okay, here are some of the situations people come to me with and here's how we help them? Yep.
First of all, everyone has their business income and personal income mixed. This is very common for a new entrepreneur. If this is you, it's not the end of the world. You can get out of this. You should have a separate bank account for your business and your personal, but if it's mixed, it's not the end of the world. So that's what we do a lot of, is that clients come to me 18 months after they've been making $100,000 a month on OnlyFans, and it's all running out of their personal account, their social security number. So a lot of what we do also is like education, like you're saying. So providing free spreadsheets and free information so you can go through and at least organize everything to get a grip on what's even going on, even figure out what your profit is. Then on the other side of that, I also have clients who are making, I had a client who made $250,000 a year on OnlyFans, and she only took like $4,000 in expenses because she didn't understand expenses. So we amended her return and she ended up getting back 25 grand because she had all these expenses she didn't even realize were expenses. We're setting clients up with bank accounts, bookkeeping. Another issue that clients have is if you read the fine print on any bank account in the United States, it says nothing. You have to promise that you're not doing anything in the adult industry. So even though they're earning income in a legal capacity and getting a 1099 on something like OnlyFans, the holding company for OnlyFans is called Phoenix, Phenix. So if a bank sees Phoenix deposits going in and out of your account, they'll actually shut down your account. And we're not able to set them up on payroll. They're getting flagged for stuff, setting up with management companies. So that's been something big that we've been working to navigate around. And it's just a matter of searching for different payroll companies that will work with certain banks. But we're seeing a lot of clients getting flagged in that capacity. We're setting up a lot of clients with S Corps because people are running their $700,000 business through their Schedule C and tracking everything just on a spreadsheet if they have any tracking at all. So a lot of what we do is like the fundamentals of accounting and just setting up people with the systems to then go let it rip on TikTok. And if you make 80 grand in a month, now it's okay. We have a grip of what's going on.
You have the machine built that will handle that, and do it the right way. And, along the lines of these industries, right? So for those who aren't even educated in like what these industries are actually doing, I want to dig a little bit into the specifics here on, like you mentioned, there's so many different nuances, like so many different things. Yes. But one of the things I love is that you post on your social media. And if you're not following Katherine, what's your handle again? It's the only consultant, but there's dots or something in between them. Yes.
On Instagram and TikTok. On TikTok, I'm the_only_consultant.
Okay. That's what it is. The underscores. So here's the thing. You're posting like all these, like, what is a write-off for the spicy industry or for these types of, like, for exotic dancers or for dominatrix or whatever. Nobody else is doing that. At least I feel like nobody else is. And that's awesome. But I love that you're putting all of these taboo items on the list of write-offs. Like, I've never been asked, can I write off a dildo? Mm-hmm. I've never really been asked that because everyone's kind of just gone, there's no way in hell. And now I'm like, I want to do an episode called Can I Write Off a Dildo? In fact, maybe I actually name this episode. Something like that. Yeah. Can I write off a dildo with Katherine? Yeah. So, because I think that there's just this, like, even if it's a legit business purpose, there's still I can't claim that. It's still, I feel like there's still a bit of that, like, self-restriction on that too. So when we talk about write-offs, guys, anything ordinary and necessary in the process of earning your income, right? And it is almost intentionally vague, but because it's so vague, here we are. So can you educate those listening on your definition of write-off, which I know that was the IRS definition, but how you evaluate your clients when they wonder if they can write something off? Like, how do you go through that process with them?
Yeah. So, I mean, first I have to create a safe environment for clients to be able to speak about their small business, because without me knowing the fine details of what's actually going on, I can't accurately help you determine what and what is not a write-off. I think that's a lot of clients have that issue when they're using traditional accountants, is that they're not in the position to say, well, actually, I'm an all suicide girl, which is an alternative look, and I'm creating content. I'm collabing with other creators once a month, and I have to pay her for her time, so I should be 1099ing her. Like, it's just people are not having the conversation. But I mean, as far as what I tell clients is that, like you said, any expense that is both ordinary and necessary to earning income as an independent contractor, it cannot be lavish, it can't be fancy, and it can't be personal. And that's where the nuances come in, because obviously my clients are monetizing their personal appearance to an extent. So one general rule is that if it does not come off at the end of your shift, then it's not considered a write-off. So
I like that. I like that rule.
So if it's attached to your body, it's not a write-off. So you can write off strip lashes, the eyelashes that you glue on and they come off, but you cannot write off lash extensions that get sewn in. You can write off wigs, but not hair extensions. You can write off press-on nails, not acrylic nails. But then there's nuances to that even. Does your club mandate acrylic nails? Did you get a set of acrylic nails for a Halloween photo shoot that you then made $30,000 off of and your skeleton nails were a thing? Or do you just always have a French manicure because you feel better with a French manicure? Because that doesn't really count.
Right.
Same thing with tanning. Tanning's not really a write-off unless you're getting it in preparation for a photo shoot, then okay.
Yeah, or Botox.
I don't let everyone run off Botox. I don't,
Yeah.
I don't do, no Botox, cosmetic surgery. And everyone says, but Katherine, there was one time the IRS let a dancer right off her breast augmentation. And that was Cynthia Hess in 1994. And that was because her breasts were extraordinarily large in the eyes of the IRS. She had like, I don't know, triple F boobs. And they said that this is clearly a fetish. But if you're getting your normal, whatever, C cup boob job, it's not a write-off.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, the nuance of that too, right? Like the fact that the IRS saw the court case, right? And more of them will come up. I have no doubt. Wait for the OnlyFans cases to come out.
They're going to call me. I'm already ready. I'm already like, I already know. I already know.
We're going to call in our expert here.
We're going to be like, wait, I saw her on Instagram. Hang on. Pull up the only consultant. We got to get her.
Or you'll come in via Instagram Live.
Wait, I love this. Let's manifest it. I want it to happen.
I know. I want this to happen too. I think we should start having that happen. You're going to live stream the court case.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. What good content. Yeah. This is what we do as like content creators / accountants is we're like, how can we make this into content and then monetize it? I love it. So how, when people come to you, what stage would you say that most people are at when they approach you? It's like, I'm thinking of starting a business like this, or are they usually into the business pretty deep and they're just like, I need your help because I haven't been doing this?
Honestly, everyone calls me for everything because there's no one else really available. And I market myself as the only consultant, which is by design, and not the only accountant. So clients are calling me before they started OnlyFans, after they've been a cam girl for 10 years and they started OnlyFans just last year. Clients that have back taxes. And then I have clients that are caught up and their bookkeeping is beautiful and they're just looking to switch accountants. So every time I answer my phone, I'm like, how can I help you? What's going on? And like literally anything can happen after that. So, and then clients also call me for things outside of taxes because they don't know where else to go. So they want to renegotiate a contract with their manager. They want health insurance. I've had clients call me to help them fill out forms just because they can't get help filling out basic forms for housing or whatever. So that was a long response to your question, but basically, yeah, clients call me whenever.
Every stage, every position, every, situation. Yeah, totally. Yeah. And that's what are your tips though this is an interesting kind of thought I had as you said that was for accountants listening. How can they become more approachable and welcoming the way that you have intentionally crafted your business to be?
I love that. I would approach the industry with curiosity and not judgment, first of all, because, and I'm letting you know right now, sex workers don't trust people that are not sex workers, and it's for a good reason. So I wouldn't expect, it has taken me years to build this trust with my client base. It is hard to gain the trust of this industry because they're used to being exploited. So I would, meet everyone with curiosity and compassion and really try not to ask anything inappropriate or, just use like any emotional intelligence you would have, I would say. Try to figure out, I know it's such a hard question because you have to create a safe space before you can drill down into the specifics of people's business. But I would just say, treat everyone like a human, not like I don't know. It's not the zoo. Don't look up people on social media. Don't ask for clients' TikTok and Instagram. Don't follow them. Be professional about it. And I think that you have a responsibility as, the custodian of someone's taxes and finances to like just be respectful in general. Like don't snicker with people in the office about it. Like it matters. It matters all the way down is how you approach it. Approach everyone like an entrepreneur, like a real business, like their CEOs, and not looking for a quick hit for cash. Like if you're in it for the money, it's not going to work for you. You have to be people focused.
I completely agree. And it's so key to develop the relationship and the trust. I think trust is the currency. And it's 100% based on that. And if you do anything to lose the trust, then you've lost the whole client.
Exactly. Agreed.
Yeah. And what do you say is next for you, Katherine? Like you're serving this industry. What are you what are some of your goals as you build this business in terms of your mission, your goals? Like, what are you building?
That's a good question. I have a lot brewing. There are layers to this. So the only consultant is my holding company. I am the only owner of that. There are no employees. That is my brand, my identity. It's my face. It's my IP. So that is the center of this hub that I'm building, basically. So it's essentially a referral machine is how I want to set this up long term, starting with the spicy industry and beyond. Specifically, I want to work with creatives, entrepreneurs, freelancers. So I have the tax pillar set up. I would like to do mortgages long term, life insurance. There's a lot of opportunities in tech that I could explore as well. But so that's like as far as my empire goes. I'd like to generate $1 billion by the time I'm 40. So I have 11 years for that. And I know that sounds, it's a big goal, but like I'm pretty serious about it. And then as far as like Katherine, the individual, like I just want to make information available and accessible. If it's taxes or beyond, really, I'm just going to listen to my clients and pivot from there. But I enjoy public speaking. I enjoy doing stuff like this. I enjoy brand stuff, meeting people. Like if that's what I could do all day, it would just be talking. Basically, that's what I want to do.
Amazing. I will say you're good at it too. And I love that you create that safe space, not only for your clients, but you've kind of conveyed that to everybody listening to that, like, Katherine's around if you have questions. She's quite busy right now because we're approaching a deadline. But, other than that, for sure. And you've actually taken a creative approach to your questions, which is, I was like, tip of my hat to you, because what you did was you took from your own client's behavior and you said, listen, here's how this is going to work. If you want to DM me tax questions, they have to Cash App you or let's say Venmo or whatever, Zelle, I don't know. They have to send you money. It was like $20 a question, which by the way, more than fair. But nobody is doing that in our industry. Nobody is just going like, yeah, tip me. And I'm like, what a brilliant move. And like, none of us are doing it.
And it's only because I ran around for years doing it for free. And then, now I'm learning the nuances of what goes on around here, right? Like I'm seeing everyone's finances. I'm seeing how much everyone makes on tips. I'm going to strip clubs. I'm meeting people around. I said, hang on here, girls. Let's just back up 1 second. No one else here answers a DM for free. Everyone demands money up front. You survive off tips, and the industry is huge on boundaries. So I set my own boundaries. And that is, if you want to talk to me, you have to email me. Otherwise, I'm not going to respond to your DM. If you do want to DM me a question, you can Cash App me first, and you can put your handle in the Cash App and screenshot it to me, and I will find your question. Just letting clients know upfront, like you have to organize your income expenses. Don't send me all of your bank statements and receipts and expect me to put them in your 1040. And that's another thing that's, just kind of different about the industry is that, how do I put this delicately? I'm just going to say it. A lot of these clients are entitled. It's just it's like just what goes on. Like if you can just snap your fingers and men will Zelle you $1,000, it's easy to think that's how the rest of the world's going to respond to you sometimes, depending on
they're conditioned. They're conditioned or like in behaviors, right? So it's like they just have expectations that might be unrealistic.
Yes, exactly. And so it's very important that I have to hold my own boundaries and also relay that to my staff. Now I have a staff of people. I'll never forget last year I was in a call with one of our accountants, and he just let this client run him. We were on a sales call. We were supposed to be closing her for engagement for a deal. And, she's very good at words and finesse and all this stuff. And it came out that he said we'd do everything for free. And I was like, okay, I called him after. I'm like, yo, I don't know what just happened, but that's not what we're doing here. These are the rules. This is why things are in place. This is a business at the end of the day. I give free information all day long, nonstop, but no one else does things for free. We're not doing things for free either.
I love that. Creating the boundaries, but also it's the exchange of trust and the exchange of respect. And I think that when you do that, you build up the respect threshold of, oh, we're not going to be treated like that because, this isn't just transactional commoditized service. We want to be a trusted advisor and we want to be treated as such. If you want to be treated with respect and no judgment, vice versa. And I love that exchange of boundaries.
Yes. And honestly, it goes over very, very well. I hardly get any pushback from clients on that. Once we set the tone, I set the tone, they respect it because it's the same thing that they have to do in their own business. And that's another thing that I work very hard to do is to meet clients where they are. So you can pay us for your deposit for your tax return via Cash App or Zelle. Like you were saying, I'm in Telegram group chats if you want to talk to me on Telegram too. I meet people in person all the time at strip clubs and beyond. Like wherever you are, I'll meet you there. But you have to respect me and I'll respect you. And that's it.
It's perfect. And I think I want business owners and accountants alike listening to that to like, just let that sink in for a second, that asking in a way for respect from your clients in the form of these boundaries or in the form of these rules or these, I call them core truths in my business. Like we do this, we don't do this. You know, these are the pool rules, if you will, like no running around, no eating after 25 minutes or whatever the hell it is, or no swimming. But like, it's the idea of creating boundaries and rules around it so that you have a framework to work in and there's consistency. And that's the key part is the implementation and the consistency. But what Katherine's describing is like, guys, she went insanely specific with a niche. It's working. She created boundaries, didn't lose clients over it. In fact, gained more respect. Like it freaking works. And there's so much resistance to those types of things. So I just want that to sink in to say like, no, it does work, especially if you know who you're dealing with.
Exactly. Yeah. You have to look at your clients as people and not just dollar signs, and then tailor your services to the people and be realistic about what's going to work for everyone. Another thing, like around deadlines, if your paperwork is not in by March 31st, you're going on extension, final answer. It will not be me that's chasing you down for a W-2 on April 11th. I don't care. I'm not doing it.
Yeah. We can't care more than they do. That's my core truth is I can't care more than you do.
Exactly. You have to reply to me. If you don't reply to me, I don't want to hear it. You have the documentation. Do not cry to me later that this happened when we told you that you had to file a 1099 by January 31st. Do not call me. But it does end up working. And then you filter out people that understand it and are with it and are great. And you filter out people that aren't. I want to help everyone. That's like, you know, one of my like traits that we're trying to get over here is that you just can't. You have to worry about your own sanity, your own mental health, and your own quality of life and well-being as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned your team, and you mentioned something about your team too before we hit record that I would hate myself if I didn't record on the show. I think this is amazing, and I did not know this about your team, but you have, not only do you serve we'll call it non-traditional niche because it's not that common, but you have a non-traditional team composition. Tell us about that.
True. And composition is the word because I hire musicians. Yes.
I didn't even mean to do that.
No, it's perfect. Yeah. It's subconscious.
Yes.
But yeah, my business operations team is compiled of professional musicians. So my executive assistant has a master's in flute performance, and our operations specialist has a master's in music education, specializing in, I think, the trombone. And then we have another contractor who has a degree in percussion. And I'm looking to hire someone else who's a professional clarinetist, and they're all friends. And it's honestly the best because
a whole band.
I literally, Prismatax is powered by the band. I say that every day because it really is. But there's so many components of music and the band that translate into business, especially startups. Like musicians tend to have a higher threshold for chaos, which is what's happening as a startup, full disclosure. As far as client communication goes, I find that's like much more fluid. Like I did in the past hire traditional staff accountants. I'm like, hey, this is not working. Like personalities are not vibing here. I can teach the musicians what a write-off is, and you can collect everyone's W-2, whatever, but please use emojis. Like speak to our clients how we would all speak to each other. And I just basically treat everyone like friends. I treat my staff like friends, you know, with boundaries and expectations as well, but same thing with my clients. And then it kind of becomes this like fun little community.
I love it. It's more enjoyable for everybody. I feel like it's still professional, right? Mm-hmm. Because there's still respect and expectation, but there's also a degree of joy and client service and passion that's injected into it. I don't think those are mutually exclusive. And I think that we've gotten away from integrating those things. Do you agree?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think traditional accounting firms are, and what people are used to, and they're dissatisfied with it. I get people coming to me all the time And while I don't necessarily niche down into that industry, right? I get people coming to me all the time saying, I'm just so tired of being judged or told what to do or lectured at or feel like my dad is yelling at me every time I go to my accountant's office or shamed, anything. It's so common because my belief is that accountants, my dad's generation, my dad was an accountant, and my dad's generation sold information. So they judge us for giving it away. Because they realize, isn't that the thing that you're supposed to charge for? No. What we're charging for is application and communication, not information. So and it's shifted. The commodity is different. The offer is different than it was, 40 years ago. So when let's say the older generation of accountants is hardcore judging us right now, because that's how are you giving away all this information and doing all this? Well, because that's what they need right now. Because information, you can freaking ask ChatGPT. You can ask your freaking lamp over there what the weather is now. It's not 40 years ago. They have access to information in abundance for free. What we do here is apply it. That's what I fundamentally believe.
I love that. I totally agree. I totally agree.
It's not a commodity anymore. The commodity will be replaced by AI. I've talked about that too. I'm just going, if you think you're competing with robots, you probably are.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. So like on the text, there's like a little teaser as to what we're up to over here.
Yeah.
Long term, I'm gonna literally put myself in a chat bot, like an AI thing, like a cat GPT. So it's like you're talking to me on my website. So
side note, Shannon is too. We're working on that too. Yeah, we're working on it.
I'm like, well, I might as well just lean into this and whatever. Let's just see what happens.
Yeah, well, it will handle the quick questions for you.
Exactly. I mean, I think we'll start with a question bank. So whatever, beyond that, somewhere else.
Same. We're doing like an FAQ bank and then working on that and using the podcast to actually drive the answers and to send links to hear more. So
I love it. That's exactly where this is going. It's exactly, if you're an accountant listening right now and you're not using ChatGPT, literally go start an account right now. Because if you're not using it now, you're already behind.
ChatGPT kills me. I absolutely love it. And on the tech side, okay, let me jump back to this before I forget, and then we'll wrap things up here. But when you mentioned tech, this came to my mind, and it was what is available. So here's the thing. You've got your community of clients, right? Let's just say it's exotic dancers. They're making cash tips. They're making all their money in cash. And they're like, how do I track this? And maybe they're not really great with spreadsheets, or maybe they're just not disciplined enough to go and actually track it. They don't really remember. It's not part of the habits. Is there a tech solution? There's always these these receipt capture things, or there's the Expensifys and there's the MyLIQs and the whatever. Is there a tech solution for them that's track your tips or that's specifically tailored in their language? Does that exist?
There are some apps that are dancer specific, shout out to the Dancers Resource app. That's a very good app. It's kind of like a Yelp for dancers. And then she's adding different components inside the app. So I think there is a tip tracker that exists there that speaks exotic dancing language.
Cool.
Honestly, most exotic, I don't want to say most, it's a huge generalization. A lot of my clients that are earning their income in cash are tracking it actually by hand on a calendar or in a journal, because that's how they're used to tracking things. So they actually don't want to get anywhere near tech in a way. Where I have some clients, of course, that are halfway in VR on the other end that are so into tech. But
true.
Not that I really know if people are using the standard apps like Truebill and Keeper Tax and QuickBooks Self-Employed, which isn't super user-friendly, but it works. But I have a spreadsheet that I made that's very user-friendly, and I have a YouTube tutorial with it. So that's usually what we send to clients just to kind of get them started.
Excellent. Yeah, I was just curious because I'm this is actually an untapped market for making it super easy for them to keep track of stuff too. So that might be another tech opportunity for anyone listening. I just think that there's just so much opportunity with industries like that if you're willing to jump into them and actually learn them, again, with the perspective of curiosity, that's a killer niche. So good for you. That's awesome.
Appreciate it. It has been a journey.
I'm sure. And I'm sure you've gotten all the questions of why that? Why are you doing with the tone of judgment, right? It may actually be curiosity, but I'm sure there's a ton of judgment on your plate as well.
Oh yeah, which only fuels me, by the way. I love it. Please judge me. Please give me a hard time about this, because I'm oh yeah, watch this. Like when I first started, people were like, this is never going to work. No accountant will ever take this work. This is never going to work. Da, da, da. I'm like, okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Follow Instagram. Thanks.
Yeah. Like have them, have them write a review for your next book coming out eventually.
Yeah. Literally, this is like only making me work harder. So
yeah. I absolutely love it. Katherine, thank you so much for this conversation. I love having folks like you on the show that can shine a perspective on maybe something we didn't know about, but also make our listeners aware that there are ways to run a business that you maybe haven't thought of before, and that it's always available, and there's an abundance of options available to you.
Definitely. Thank you so much for having me. This has been a very good combo.
Of course. Now, how can folks learn more about you? Again, drop the handle and let them know where they can find out more about you if they're interested in working with you or just learning more about what you're offering right now.
Yes. Let me give you the works. So my main social media accounts are Instagram and TikTok. You can find me at the_only_consultant. I'm on LinkedIn, Katherine Studley. And then my websites are theonlyconsultant.com and prismatax.com.
Awesome. Guys, check her out. Learn more from her, follow her. She's got some amazing content. And thank you so much for being on the show. I think it's an extension of our brand with the judgment jargon free. I knew we would get along. I had no doubt.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I knew. This is fun.
All right. I'll talk to you soon. Thanks for listening, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Awesome. Thank you.